listening to COLTure Uncut.
First of all, I know the Colts were very interested in Jalen Phillips, and they had him matched with Kwity Paye for most of the draft all season. But once the Colts did their due diligence on him and his background, he was off the Colts board. So was Kwity Paye or nothing at that point.
With the 21st pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Kwity Paye, defensive end, Michigan.
He got a home run hitter in the backfield, and it only takes one handoff to change the game. He gave it to him, and the rest is history 67 yards later, and that's it. That's all she wrote. Hands off to Taylor. Taylor, big run! He's at the 45, 50, 40, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor, 67 yards to the house!
And here's your host, Jason Spears.
This is COLTure Uncut. I'm your host, Jason Spears, and this is the Q&A for COLTure Uncut for Week 13, headed into the New England Patriots game with the Colts sitting at 5-7. I asked you guys on Twitter to send some questions, and I got a lot of questions, and I got a lot of answers. I don't know how great they'll be, but I do have a lot of interesting questions that I'm excited to answer. One thing I want to mention before I get into the show is I've had some people mention my audio isn't the greatest and where they can send me money to buy me so I can buy better equipment. Well, here's the thing. I don't have any place for you to send money right now, and really I'll start investing more money into this once, there's more subscribers. Maybe that's backwards, but for me right now, it's just about putting out a good product as far as information goes, and then all the other stuff, which I'm behind on, the technological stuff, I will do as I go, because I'm doing this show all on my own. I mean, the option is either don't do it or do what I'm doing right now as far as I'm concerned, and I like doing it. I just don't like, there's a lot of effort that goes into it. I don't necessarily have time for all that. And I have to learn a lot of new things that I don't know because I'm, again, working by myself. And again, technologically, I'm very stupid because I'm older, and that's just the way it is. So there's really nothing that you can do. I'm just going to try to keep putting out my podcast. You can choose not to listen. That's also a choice. I would hope that you guys wouldn't do that. But for now, this is just kind of the way it is. I'm just getting back into the groove of this. I mean, I just started back in September, so I apologize if it's not the obviously my audio and all the graphics and all that are not as good as the other podcasts, but I'd like to think my information and my opinions are just as good. So hopefully you'll continue to listen. I appreciate and care about every one of you that takes the time to listen, and I appreciate all your support. In due time, my friend, in due time. Everything will come in due time. So I just wanted to kind of address that up front. Getting into the questions. First question comes from my good buddy John in Indy, and he wanted to get my thoughts on the McAfee Franklin situation. So this is a tough one for me because I think they're both wrong. As on principle, I'm not a huge fan of in-season podcasts because there's too much of a percentage chance that it's going to create a distraction, and it did just that. Also, I just feel like you need to be in the right headspace during the football season, and I'm not sure a podcast really does that. But again, these guys, like, I'm old school. Like, these guys are young, and they have the right to do what they want to do. Do I like it? No. Would I prefer them to do it in the off season? Obviously, but they're going to do what they're going to do. I'm not a huge fan of it. I've never been a huge fan of McAfee. Luke and I had some issues with him early on that didn't sit well with me, so I'm not a Pat McAfee guy. I'm not going to share what happened or anything like that, but it just wasn't a great interaction. So I don't really. My thing is this, like, I didn't really understand McAfee, like, going at Zaire so hard. They obviously put the thumbnail on the thing for clicks. That's what you do. Pat knows the game. I don't know why Pat's tripping. He was the one that went from, anti-Richardson to Richardson, and he did apologize. He said he made the wrong choice or whatever, but all this garbage is the social media game. Like, it's all clicks and views, and Pat McAfee is going to bring that show clicks and views. Pat's show is just one of the biggest shows in the world, so of course, if they have an opportunity to take advantage of that, they're going to. And that's why I don't really like Zaire doing it. I thought McAfee took a cheap shot at Zaire's record at Syracuse. That hit me hard because Zaire was great at Syracuse. The team just wasn't. So I don't think that's necessarily a reflection of him. But at the end of the day, man, it's Colt on Colt crime. Pat was a Colt and a really good one for a long period of time. And now he's a really good, he's doing his thing in his space and he's great at it, right? Zaire's been a Colt his whole career. He hasn't won nearly as much, obviously, with situations being what they are. I just think it was a lose-lose, and as a Colts fan, I didn't like any of it. Now, Pat's going to distance himself from the Colts. I don't know. Zaire said he had no issue with Pat, and they want the same things, and I agree. I think they do want the same things, but I think Pat got in his feelings a little too much in this situation. Because it's all part of the game, like the stupid social media game, the clickbait game, and all that other garbage. So I don't like any of it. I really don't like any of it. I didn't like Zaire talking about it. I don't like the podcast. I don't like any of that stuff during the season. I just think it takes away what your main focus should be, and it creates a distraction if you say one wrong thing. So that's just my opinion. 90% probably disagree with it, and I get it. I'm an old person, so most younger people are going to think I'm being an old person yelling at a cloud, but it is what it is. That's how I feel. I don't think it benefited the Colts in any way. I don't think it really benefits anyone other than maybe McAfee. And so that's kind of my thoughts on it. I'm glad it's over, and now we can just focus on finishing the season strong. Question 2. Okay, so should the Colts try and trade for Bobby Okereke, or linebacker from the Giants, or Michael Mayer, tight end from the Raiders? That's from Ivan. I would certainly kick the tires on it, but I'm not really sure I'd be willing to give up draft capital when you can just go out and draft a young linebacker or draft a young tight end. But I mean, you certainly there are calls you could make for sure, but the trade deadline for this season's over, so you have to look at it after the season, and I'm not sure. Ballard, I don't know. I just don't know what his thought process is going to be. I'm sure he loves our linebackers and probably is going to pay EJ Speed. So I don't know, man. I would, but again, it's tough answering these questions because what I would do and what this regime will do usually are two different things. But I appreciate the question. Who would your DC be next year from MCW? Well, Gus Bradley is not getting fired, but if he were to get fired, I would definitely want somebody a lot more aggressive. I've always stated that, my thing is points per game, turnovers, and third down percentage. And I would want a coach that has experience that is at least league average in those things, because we have not been league average in those things for the most part of his tenure. This is his best year. I think we are 16th in points, Bradley's best year. 16th in points, 9th in turnovers, and 28th, just bad, awful in getting off the field on third down. So I'd have to see what's out there. I don't know what's going to be out there. I know there's going to be I think there's going to be a lot of firings. I don't know. So it's very difficult for me to say who I want and all that. Because it would have to be somebody that schematically would fit our players, because it's just such a pain in the ass. We saw in 2012 how difficult it is to go from a 4-3 to a 3-4, and we have nothing but 4-3 talent. So it would have to be a 4-3 guy. I don't know who's going to be out there. And again, I don't see the Colts, they're not going to fire Bradley. So, but thanks for the question, MCW. Do you think Ballard gets fired if the Colts don't make the playoffs? That's from Andrew. No, absolutely not. I don't think it matters. I think Ballard is tied to Richardson and Steichen now. So, no, I don't think he gets fired. And, yeah, that was from Andrew. Do you think AR sometimes reads the RPO wrong instead of giving it off to Taylor? That's a good question. I think so. I mean, obviously he makes mistakes. I think more often than not, the mistake though is he gives it to Taylor. There's a lot of times where you'll see the DN crashing down on the run action, and when the DN crashes down, that there's a hole. You run straight to it. You know what I mean? Like, and there's been plenty of situations where he's given it to Taylor, and there's been like nobody, setting the edge. So I actually think it's reversed. I think he keeps it less than he needs to run it more, in my opinion, on the RPO stuff. So yeah, I mean, obviously he's young. He's going to make mistakes, and RPO, he definitely makes some bad reads here and there. But I think he'll get better with that as he gets adjusted to it. But yeah, I think he does a decent job. He'll get better. I'm not too worried about that. Any significant changes coming in the offseason? That's for my guy Trey. I'm sorry, man. I hate to tell you, it's just not going to happen. I mean, there's going to be player movement as there always is, but there's not going to be any systemic changes. Everything's going to stay the same as far as I've heard. Everybody will be back unless somebody poaches one of our coaches, which could happen. But other than that, I think it's going to be a lot of the same, dude. It's just going to be another year of the same type of stuff. And, I've kind of resigned myself to just focusing on the quarterback play and kind of evaluating that, because it's kind of where I'm at. It's not really about wins. Obviously, it is not about wins and losses with this regime anymore. It's about developing the quarterback. They seemingly don't give a crap about winning. So why should we, right? Let's see. So thanks, Trey, for that question. Why was the commish talking to Carly? I mean, who knows? I'm sure they're just talking about her dad and, what's going on and catching up. I'm sure they know each other. I don't think it means anything. Really, I don't think it's that important or was that big of a deal. If you become GM tomorrow, what do you do to win a Super Bowl as soon as possible? Well, I tear it all down because I don't buy. Listen, I know people love Steichen, and I get that. I don't like him as a leader of men. I don't like the way the season's gone down. I don't like the way he's handled a lot of it. I immediately fire Ballard, and then I would do an extensive search for my new GM. Let him pick and choose the scouts he wants to keep. Because I do think we have a good scouting department, and the other guys, like, see if Morocco will stay or Dodds or whatever. But I want my GM to pick what he wants, whether that's scouts, college departments and stuff like that. I want him to have all the say, and then I want him to be able to pick the next coach. And then I want the coach to be you guys know who I want. I want Vrabel. And it's simply because I want the accountability and I want the toughness and all the stuff that comes with him. There's some bad too, but he brings a level of commitment and continuity and understanding on what it takes to win. He's won before. He's been in this division. He knows this division. I think he would be a great hire. That's just me. But at the end of the day, I would allow my GM to pick the next head coach. Let that coach pick his staff. Let the staff members pick their assistants. How it systematically should work. You're not forcing people on people. That's not how I would build my organization. I allow my decision makers to make their decisions and then pass that same level of power down to the coach, down to the assistant coaches, and et cetera, et cetera. That's how you build a strong foundation within your organization. Overhaul all this other garbage, all the it's just got to be a totally different vibe. I hate the participation trophy bullshit that this regime has created, where our fans are like, hey, we're not that far away. I had somebody say we're closer to being great than we are from being bad, and I'm like, what are you talking about? We're 5-7. And he's like, well, that's average. And I'm like, no, 5-7 is bad. 7-7 is average. It's like this fan base has been brainwashed, and they don't even know what bad is anymore. So I don't want the stink of this franchise to ruin the front office. I'm not talking about the players, but the stink of like the front office and the coaching staff's been underwhelming as well. I just think you need to bring in a tone setter, somebody that's done that, stood in front of a room of players that demands their respect, gets their respect, and then the players play for them. And that's the kind of coach I want, and I want a GM that thinks the same way, lockstep, as my head coach. So that's what I would do, and obviously then you get into the draft stuff, and that's all down the road, but we need, certainly tight end, we need a safety line, but I can go into all that. I think somebody asked a question about that later. So, but that's what I would do. Of course, none of that's going to happen, so don't hold your breath. Let's see, where am I at now? Tight end, cornerback, strong safety, linebacker. Name the order of importance. Where you prioritize getting players, draft or free agent, relo. Well, I prioritize getting players in both, mainly through the draft. For me, tight end is going to be draft, and that's number one. We need that. I think linebacker is also going to be draft, but I wouldn't be opposed to a free agent. Safety, again, draft, but wouldn't be opposed to free agent. Cornerback, probably maybe a free agent there. I don't know, but none of like a lot of these things, like for safety, linebacker, and tight end, I'm looking for starters. Cornerback, it's more depth, so it kind of depends. And then we also, I saw Drake mention this online today. Like we are so bad interior wise on defense behind Grover and Buck. We have to draft a young player, I think, and go out and find a solid depth piece. Release Davis. He has been atrocious. Brian is okay against the pass, but he's atrocious against the run. Davis has been atrocious against everything. They've got to go. Do you bring up Aid? Does Aid play the 3 tech? If you think Aid's going to be an upgrade, you play him at the 3, and then you bring in somebody to back up Grover via draft. Maybe you get a guy late in the draft or something like that, or maybe you just bring in a 1-year guy. I don't know, but they definitely need depth at safety, up the middle, essentially defensive tackle, linebacker, and safety, and so. They definitely need to work on that. The order of importance, I would say, would be tight end, linebacker, safety, because I think our linebackers are very poor. So that's what I would say. And then defensive tackle. And I would also say running back too. We've got a lot of issues. We do not have a very good second running back. So that's got to be addressed as well. That's a draft pick for me. Always want to get those backs on their first contract. So I would definitely go draft for the running back. Get a guy like maybe Caleb Johnson or Sampson from Tennessee, somebody like that, or the kid from Rutgers. Let's see. How can we get JT more involved in the offense? Well, this has been a problem all year. There needs to be Shane has to have a better idea of when pressure is coming, so he can throw screens to him and just checking the ball down, getting him in space. Jonathan Taylor is at his best when he's in space. You've got to get him in space, and you do that by either throwing him, just a dump off pass, or you can run a screen. There's a lot of ways you can get him the ball. A lot of ways. And they've just got to do it. They've been doing things a certain way, and I just think they need to open up the playbook and understand that, yes, you can dump it off to him. Mix in some of the shit you did with Gardner Minshew last year, where he was checking down, like mix and match, put something together. Like, you can throw screens. You don't have to throw, and don't do too much of one thing. Once you throw one, you don't have to throw 7. Just, mix it when you think it'll work and dump it down when it's there, when there's open field. I just think they're not being creative enough at getting him the ball when he is their probably highest paid offensive player and probably their best offensive player when he's out there. So they've got to find a way to get him more involved in the offense aside from just running the ball, because teams are very much keying on him, and he's had a very difficult time running the last couple weeks. So that's something to look forward to going forward. And that was probably too many uses of the word forward. Which is best, White face mask, blue face mask, gray face mask. That's from Brian. I actually am partial to the blue on the road. I like the blue face mask on the road. I think it's a clean look with the white, all white, and then the blue face mask. At home, I don't really mind. Like none of them are really gray. Maybe white, I guess. Maybe I don't know. I haven't seen the white since like '94. So I don't know. White, gray, blue. It does. Blue's probably my choice, but it doesn't really matter. I just want them to win, honestly. I mean, looking good is one thing, but I'd like to win some games too. So, but thanks for the question. Why does Ballard get no criticism from the national media, and why do they think he's so great? Well, I'll give you a couple reasons. One, I can't prove this, but I think a lot of what you get out of Indianapolis is leaked to the national media from Chris Ballard or his people. So of course they protect him because he's an asset to him. He's a source. I truly believe that. So when anything comes out of Indianapolis, I always believe it's coming from him. Because it makes sense. Like if it wasn't, they'd be on his ass much more than they are. Because the guy's been here for 8 years and he's not winning, and they're really not talking about him. So why aren't they talking about him? Well, they're not talking about him because it's like quid pro quo. You do for me, I do for you. Well, he probably is leaking info to them. Therefore, they're kind of looking a blind eye at him. Plus, we're in a smaller market, so nobody cares about Chris Ballard as much as obviously we do. But that's part of it. I think that's a big part of it. And it's sad because I think if they covered him in a more harsh way, the people would understand how poor a job he's actually doing. So, but that's a great question, and I think it's certainly, is one you could study. It's a great question. That's probably the best question I've gotten, actually. Do you think Irsay is content with this mediocre team? Actions speak louder than words. I don't know his health condition, but this has gone on since 2021, and nothing has changed other than a coach, and that's it. No. I don't think he is. I don't even think if he knows where he is. Is he happy with this? I'm sure he's not happy with it, but is he going to do anything about it? Doesn't seem that way. Not from anything I've heard. So I guess he's just going to play this out. He wants to see what's going to happen with the quarterback, and if it doesn't work, then he'll fire everybody. That's the road we're on right now. So, and I think AR is going to get full. Let's see, he'll get last year, this year, next year, maybe even the next year after that, because he's on a 4-year with a 5th-year extension thing. So we'll see. We'll see, man. It all has to play out. But Irsay is very impulsive, so you never know with him. You just never know. So I would say, just based on his behavior, he seems to be content. Yeah. What will it take to get rid of this regime? That's from Cam. It's going to take all of us being depressed. Well, no, honestly, like the answer is going to make you depressed. It's going to take Anthony Richardson failing. That's the honest answer. Because if Anthony Richardson fails, that means Steichen failed, that means Ballard failed, that means everybody failed, and then he can sell that to the fan base. Everybody failed. So the thing we're rooting for, or at least I'm rooting for the hardest, is that we find our franchise quarterback. But the problem with that is that probably keeps Ballard here until 2048. So it's not a great position for Colt fans to be in, because honestly, I do not think anything that takes place on the field other than Anthony Richardson becoming terrible, and I mean awful, is going to get these guys fired. Not their record, not anything else, because that's what they're tied to him now. It's not just Steichen that's tied to him; it's Ballard too, because he drafted him. So that's it. I mean, to me, that's the only way, is if he's a failure. So I don't know. It just the organization is just, it's in a bad spot. I told you what I would do. I'd tear it down, but they're not going to do that. And it's a lose-lose in a way, Because even if Richardson turns into a franchise quarterback, we still have Ballard running it, and Ballard's proven to be, I'll be nice, average at best at his job. That does not give me a lot of confidence, even if we get the quarterback right. So if he plays well, he stays. And then if he doesn't play well, then he goes. But that also means we're starting over at quarterback. So it's kind of a lose-lose, for Colt fans. But what else is new, right? Nothing ever seems to go our way. Let's see. Where am I at with the questions? What will it take to get out of... Oh, I just asked that. Good Lord, man. Get it together. Is it your gut that says Ballard is safe or a source? That's from Matt. It's a little bit of both. The gut said that he would be back. I made a couple calls, and that's what I was told was he's going to be back. So there you go. He's going to be back. Or barring something crazy happening. I can't say for sure he's going to be about 100% back, because when Irsay's your owner, you never know anything for sure. He could get a hair up his ass and just fire everybody. You just don't know. But based on what I've been told, that, that's not going to happen. So, let's see. How can Irsay sell the fan base on year 9 of Ballard? That's from Super Pony. The same way he sold the fan base on all the other years of Ballard. He doesn't really sell it. Ballard goes out there. Notice Ballard's in hiding again, by the way. He's not talking to anyone. He'll do his end-of-year stupid thing. Then he'll do his little interview at the end of the year, his little presser. Then he'll do the draft presser. He doesn't talk to them. Ballard hardly talks to the media now, for good reason, because he'd get roasted. And Irsay really doesn't either. So I don't think he has to sell. He's not going to try to sell anything. He's going to try to sell his quarterback. He'll try to sell, how exciting Anthony Richardson and this young offense can be, and Jonathan Taylor and Josh Downs. He'll sell that. He's not going to try to sell Ballard. He's going to try to sell something else to the fans, because you can't sell Ballard. So that's what I think will happen with that. I think he just, that's how he'll do it. Year 9, year 10. Get ready for it, guys. It's probably going to be a decade of Ballard's mediocrity. Let's see. Backup quarterback for next year. Free agent or draft. Man, so I'd love to get a quarterback in the draft, but the thing with the situation that we're in is we got a young quarterback, and you need that. I just want a veteran around him, somebody that can lead him, a little younger than Flacco. I would go the vet route. I don't know who's going to be available. I would like to get somebody younger than Flacco. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know who's going to be out there, but I definitely would choose the veteran quarterback route, because if they get in the game, they're not going to be overwhelmed, and they're not going to, they'll be able to at least keep you in games for the most part if you have a quarterback that's somewhat young that can move around in the pocket a little bit, like Minshew. He was bad, but I actually thought he gave us a better chance to win than Joe Flacco did. So I don't know if Minshew's an option. I don't know what somebody like that though that's played a lot of football and that's won some games that can get you through. Like if he's hurt for a couple weeks, that can get you through a couple weeks. Because usually backups are a backup for a reason, so they're not going to be leading you to the playoffs. And hopefully we won't ever be in that situation again. But you do want somebody that has that experience, but also has the ability to move their feet and avoid maybe a sack or two. And Flacco was just not that guy. So I would definitely go the veteran route. Will Zaire Franklin ever stop doing a podcast in season and be a leader? I cleaned this up a little bit, by the way. Seems like his priorities or his head is in the wrong place. I kind of answered that earlier. He's going to do what he wants to do. He's going to keep doing the podcast. I tend to agree with you. Doing it in season is not a good thing, but because of what I stated earlier, the possibility for distractions and all kinds of other garbage that could go on, as like the Pat McAfee thing, and it's just, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of it, and I know a lot of people are. I know a lot of younger Colt content creators. I mean, I'm 47. A lot of these guys are a lot younger than me, and they're cool with it. And I get it. Like, people have the right to speak their mind. I'm just, like, for me, I'm the type of person that if I'm focused on something, I want to be 100% focused on that until the job is done. You know, if this was a winning team, maybe my opinion would be different. You know, because I know Kelsey does a show and all that, but that team's won the Super Bowl how many ever times, and they're a winning program. The Colts are not a winning program. They haven't won a Super Bowl. I think his head needs to be somewhere else, and I think it needs to be in the building. So I agree with that statement. I don't think it's a help. I think it's a hindrance, and I wished he wouldn't do it. But again, he's entitled to do what he wants to do as long as he's not breaking any laws. So I don't think he's doing it as a a thing to hurt anyone. I just think he likes chopping it up with his friends and all that, and that's fine. But I mean, maybe wait to the off season to do it. You know, that's what I would do. But that's just me, and I'm not playing for the Colts, obviously. And number 44 is. So tend to agree with your opinion on it, though. So I got a question from somebody you guys might recognize. A fellow by the name of Luke Diamond had a question for me. I don't know if you guys have been following some of the rumors out there, but the rumors are that Ryan Grigson and Brian Flores as a tandem are a possibility to be hired with the New York Jets. Apparently, the Jets are interested in Grigson, and Grigson and Flores have a great relationship, and so that is a possibility. And Luke's question was, do you think the Jets will hire Ryan Grigson? What will your reaction be? I hope the Jets hire Ryan Grigson, because I would like to see Ryan Grigson and what his record will be without a franchise quarterback handed to him. So I'm all for Ryan Grigson and his redemption arc, because I cannot wait to see Dan Dockich in his Ryan Grigson New York Jets jersey, shirtsy that he's going to wear around because his boyfriend is going to get a job. I hope he gets that job. He will get annihilated by the New York press, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it because he got our franchise quarterback killed, so I hope he gets the job in New York. It'd suck for Flores to be grouped with him, but hey, you pick your friends. So go for it. I hope it gets done, and if it happens, Luke and I are doing a show. I already told Luke. I said, Luke, if Ryan Grigson gets the Jets job, we are going to have a celebration and laugh and just have a Ryan Grigson roast. Then you're all invited. So I hope it happens. I really do. So that's it, guys. That's the Q&A for Week 13 headed into New England. I will be back for a Patriot preview Friday after Thanksgiving. Before I go, a couple things. One, I want to wish everybody a happy, healthy Thanksgiving. Enjoy it. Have a great time. Watch some football. Relax. Don't get too fat. Just kidding. But enjoy your families and your friends, and I wish everybody, the happiest of Thanksgivings. And last but not least, I want to give a shout out to my girl, Dawn. She's been a really, really big part of my life for a long period of time. And I just want to say thank you for all your support, honey. Appreciate you helping people find this podcast. It's continuing to slowly but surely grow, and I couldn't do that without you. So I wanted to give my girl a shout out for helping, and I hope you're well. I'll talk to you probably when I get done recording this. So anyway, with that, I'm going to wrap it up. I'll talk to you guys Friday when I break down the next opponent of the Colts, the New England Patriots, who have been playing better of late. Not necessarily last week, but Drake May's got them feeling good about themselves. So we'll go over the Patriots, and I'll get into their personnel. But once again, happy holidays to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your day, and I will talk to you very soon. This has been COLTure Uncut.